Hello, good evening everyone. Many of you know me, some of you maybe don't. My name is Jutta Brandemüller, I'm the program curator here at the Goethe-Institut. Thank you for joining us. We would like to acknowledge that the Anishinaabe Nation, the Mississaugas of the New Credit River, the Haudenosaunee and the Huron-Wendat, as well as the Métis, are the traditional keepers of this land. And that, of course, is all the more important to recognize tonight as the physical space that is Toronto, as well as Indigenous films and creativity within the city are our topic. I think some of you, maybe half of you, were you at the walk? Yesterday James was, you were at the walk, were you at the walk? Okay, then we know how much we can take as a given. Before we start and I introduce my friends here to the left and right, let's watch that trailer.
Yes.
What we saw there mostly is that it takes the collective to run a wall as a screen, and some of you, at least, not all of you, but some of you we have here today. Sabine, Silvia, Sven, and Peter. Welcome and welcome back by popular demand. May I add, because I guess, was that your first project to Canada? Yes, was that your first book in 2014 that we did around the wall, tearing down walls, crossing borders?
Yes, that was
your first visit to Canada, but it was your first A Wall as a Screen.
The first A Wall as a Screen Canada, yeah.
And they're just also back from Quebec City, where they've worked with our colleagues at the Goethe-Institut Montreal, and we're talking about Vancouver. So many conversations to be had. Yesterday was a first, though, for you as European curators. And together with our fantastic partners at the ImagineNATIVE Festival, and I'll have to say thank you to Jason Ryle and his team, who's been brilliant. We were in Hamburg together earlier this year to talk about this as well. You walk the streets of downtown Toronto with an entirely globally indigenous program, and in a very particular way, site-specific. So, and just tell us a bit about how the curation came about. Not quite yet the walk or the choreography. I want to ask you about that later, maybe for 10-15 minutes, and then I'll throw it over to you. But how did the curation happen between Jason, ImagineNATIVE, Hamburg, Toronto, with that mandate, entirely indigenized program?
Okay, it was when we started to talk about the event, we sat down with Jason and talked about what the content would be. First ideas were we should do a mix of Hamburg films and indigenous films, but then we decided no, this will be an indigenous only program to fit into the programmization of ImagineNATIVE Festival. And for us it was quite a task, because we figured out that in our archive, which consists of 800 to 900 films which we used during our tours, for which we all have the screening rights, there are only very few films that were made by indigenous filmmakers. So a lot of films had to be added to that. And it started like going back and forth. Jason sent us a selection of films from the ImagineNATIVE Festival that we went through that, like films from their backlog. Then we looked at films that were going to be played at this year's festival, and then also we went into like our the archive of our minds. Like Sabine remembered this film from Australia, which is like 96, I think, was running in Hamburg at the festival. Was it? That's,
No.
You just knew it by.
No, I just went through the archive of the Australian Film Commission.
The
Found it.
last
Yeah,
but one
yeah.
film in the
Yeah.
swimming
Yeah.
pool? Yeah.
And then, so we ended up with having a very, very short shortlist when we came here, because normally we can choose out of 40,000 films that we have access to through the archive of the Short Film Agency, or our 800 to 900 films. But now, like, the selection was way shorter, but so we had to specifically select the films beforehand for those walls. And actually, the last film was basically decided upon 2 days ago.